Remember I told you in one of my other episodes about the selling process? Well, rather than me walk you through it again, I have one of my clients, Sharon, who's going to tell you from start to end some of the things that happened. You're going to want to stay tuned for this one because there were a lot of ups, a lot of downs, and there's a whole lot that Sharon learned about the realtor world. Stay tuned as we welcome and talk with Sharon Martinez Kuniyoshi. I started a podcast called Just Listed with Vik, giving those professionals in the real estate industry a platform to not only promote themselves, but to create stronger consumers. Whether you're looking to become a real estate agent or in the market to buy, sell, or become an investor, join me as we learn and grow together. And as always, welcome home. So Sharon, when you decided to sell your home, how did you know that was the right time to make that decision?
Well, it really stemmed from my family growing. My husband and I were engaged. We hadn't gotten married yet. We decided to live in my condo, 2-bedroom, 2-bath, instead of moving to his condo, 2-bedroom, 2-bath. It was time to sell because we needed a bigger place to live.
You had the option to Google any realtor in Palm Beach. What made you decide that Vik was the one I'm going to go with?
I think it stemmed from the fact that I had a professional relationship with you. We were educators together. We had known each other for years professionally. And I learned that you were a realtor through Facebook and, you selling left and right. And I said, you know what? Let me call Vik.
When you realized you were selling, what are some things you did to your home to get it show ready or market ready?
Well, you were very smart in saying to me, don't put too much into it because you're going to sell it. However, you want to make it ready for buyers to want to live here. What I did to prepare was simple. It was make sure it was nice, clean, decluttered. I ended up renovating the bathroom, and that's what made us choose my condo to sell, because the bathroom was a long, stressful process to renovate, and here I am going to sell this beautiful bathroom, but the bathroom ended up being the reason someone bought. In addition to the bathroom, I had upgraded the kitchen. It wasn't a major upgrade, but the cabinets were upgraded, the countertops, it was no longer the Formica from 1986. So those were all decisions that I made ahead of time that ended up paying off in the long run. The family needs to see what they can do with this space, not what you did with the space.
Your bathroom actually became the focal point because as realtors, when we take pictures, we decide which is going to be the front or the main picture. And when we did the walkthrough and I saw the bathroom, I'm like, wow, are you sure you want to sell this house? Because the bathroom was amazing. So great job on those decisions. So when you called me to come take a look at your house, I brought 3 folders with me, red, yellow, and green. Do you remember those?
Oh, yes.
So the red were all of the houses that were similar to yours that closed within the last 6 months. Yellow, homes that are similar to yours, but are still on the market pending under contract. And the green, homes that are similar to yours, but are still on the market, haven't sold. How helpful or not helpful was having this in making a decision?
The folders were critical because they actually anchored me throughout the whole process, whether you knew it or not. They were huge assets to my mental health during this whole process. It gave me insight on what's out there, who are my competitors, what sold. I would look at those pictures of the condo that sold that was similar to mine and like, how come this sold in 25 days? This sold in 80 days. What was the difference? But it sold. These folders gave me a sense of control because now I could go onto Zillow. I could go onto these real estate places and look up this address to see, did it sell yet? Why didn't it sell? Oh my gosh, 500 views, but it still hasn't sold.
Once we listed it at that price, did you say we hit the nail on the head or we were a little bit off?
No, I think we hit the nail on the head. It really definitely was a competitive selling price.
Just off the top of your head, do you remember what we listed your house at?
Yes.
Okay. At that time, looking back, would you say it was a good investment, a good choice, or should you have waited and sold your house?
Later. No, it was a good choice.
Well, let's see if that's true. On the front of the card, I have how much we sold your house for.
Mhm.
On the back of the card is how much the condo is worth today. So flip it over and see if we made a good choice or we should have waited.
We definitely made a good choice.
So if you had to look back 2 years from now, maybe 3, what's something that you wished somebody would have told you in preparation for selling your home?
I think paying attention to what it is you are investing in within your home, what you're improving on. I made really good decisions. Luckily, I didn't know I was making good decisions, but instead of ripping out the kitchen, I just updated it. I wish I would have known more about presenting the house ahead of time and making even better decisions, because I think I could have gotten a lot more money had I done that.
One of the things that you dealt with as a seller was a little bit more stressful than typical sellers. Not only were you selling your home, but you were buying a new home. So you on two ends were, what are the terms? Oh, that's a selling term. That's a buying term. What do I have to pay attention here? 2 sets of documents. Tell us about that process of selling and buying simultaneously.
Oh, that led to the mental health needs. Just because in order to start this new chapter, which we had a timeline on, we put a deposit down. It was going to be ready July 5th, which means, okay, we need to sell. We don't have time for, why are we going back and forth? And then you have a novice realtor on the other side that we're coaching this whole time. And it's the contract is underway 11 days in, but here we are, almost a month after that, still working on paperwork. That was extremely stressful because I was like, this is not going to sell. This deal is going to fall through. We have to close. Otherwise, they're going to give away our house, or I didn't know what was going to happen. Then I have all of that paperwork. Luckily, my fiance was there with me the entire, journey of this. And he was focused on the buying portion, but it was still stressful because my money from the sale was going to be used for part of the down payment, which we really wanted to put 20% down because it takes away, what is that?
PMI. Insurance.
So, which was another thing you helped with. You're just like, you really want to ensure you have that so you don't have that extra fee associated with your monthly mortgage.
And how was the buying process for a new home when you didn't have representation from a realtor?
First of all, who knew that a realtor would have benefited us as buyers coming into, especially new construction? We don't know what we don't know. But because it's new construction, in my mind, well, we're picking our house. We don't need someone to help us find a house. Hindsight 2020, the realtor is not there to help you find a house. The realtor is there to help you move through the legal process with making all the right decisions, asking all the right questions. And we didn't have that. Well, I didn't have that on paper. I had it because he was selling my house, but oh my gosh. And then it was too late because once we put the money down, and who knew that question was going to linger throughout the entire buying process? Well, no, you said you didn't have a realtor. You can't bring a realtor in now. But definitely future reference, have a realtor when you're buying new construction, any kind of home. You always need representation. Trust your realtor. Really, if you don't have full confidence in your realtor, then you may need to end that relationship, because the worry that I felt had nothing to do with what my realtor was doing and what the market was doing. It had to do with the whirlwind in my mind, but having the realtor, my realtor, help me navigate that process was essential. Without a realtor that you can't confide in, I think I was in tears a few times. But you listened, you calmed me down, both on our way to our education work, and it's 7:00 in the morning, and I'm like, well, Vic, what? She didn't sign the paper yet? Why didn't she sign the paper? Here I am talking to the title company, to this, that, and I'm getting all involved, and you're like, Sharon, focus on what you're buying. I got this, and I'll follow up with the realtor for the buyer. So it's really just trusting the process, trusting that your realtor has got you covered.
For sellers interested in selling, what's a myth or a fear that you think most sellers have?
Well, one of the biggest ones was when I didn't get much traction at an open house. And in my mind, open house was like make or break. And that's not how we got our buyer. But that was a huge misconception or a myth that, oh my gosh, we got to get ready for open house because if people come, this is how they're going to buy. You watch all those TV shows and you think the open house is how you're going to get your buyer. And that wasn't right. That's why the photos that you took were so essential. You sent a professional photographer, and I don't think we would have gotten as much reception if we didn't have that professionalism tacked into everything else that you do as my realtor.
Did you feel inconvenienced when it was time to take pictures? I need you to leave. It was time for the open house. I need you to leave.
No, because you prepared us. You said they're going to take pictures, put this away, don't have this out, personal items. You want it to be as clean. And when I say clean, not opposed to dirty, just nice, tidy, minimal. You just prepared us and you gave us a nice heads up. It was never, hey, I need you to leave because somebody's coming. It was always a planned, and you protected me as a seller in that respect. At least I felt that way.
Do you remember me saying to you, don't stress unless I stress? And I never stress. Do you remember me saying that?
Oh, yeah.
Did you believe me at the time?
No, I still don't believe you. Even though you're not stressed, that helps me not be stressed. You not worrying was definitely a help, but what helped me even more was you hearing what I needed from you. And what I needed was all the little in the weeds details that most sellers didn't need, but I needed it. I needed that, and you gave it to me.
I typically ask my sellers, how involved do you want to be? Do you want to know the ins and outs, or do you want to be hands off and you'll sign? And you shared you wanted to know the ins and outs. And boy, did she get a ride for the ins and outs of real estate.
Oh, man.
Sharon learned terms, contracts. All she was missing was her realtor license.
I'm ready.
Let's talk about that process. After the open house, I received a phone call. I'd like to show your house. Person showed the house, and then they submitted a contract. Typically, what I do for my sellers is I cut out all the minutia and I give you, here's what we're presented with. But you got the behind the scenes, the pull back the layers, the raw version of everything. What are some of your thoughts when I presented you a half-done contract, numbers that were incorrect, terms that were not accurate, dates that were wrong, pieces that were incomplete? What was your reaction?
I was a little stunned because I'm like, how could this happen behind the scenes? Like, if Vic didn't read the contract, if Vic didn't know his job and the responsibilities of being a realtor, I could have really gotten screwed. And it was eye-opening to the fact that if you have a novice real estate agent on the buyer's end, you need to ensure that your realtor knows what they're doing, because it was like weird to see behind the scenes that, like, it was bizarre that there's all this behind the scenes. And I kind of wished, like, maybe I didn't need to know all of this, because it was a lot. It was a lot to absorb, but you always brought it back. You had a very professional way of fixing the errors that others made without causing tension between the other side. And it ended up being helpful to that person, whether they acknowledged it or not.
I remember looking at her contract and saying, how am I going to present this to Sharon, knowing that it's wrong? And eventually I said, Sharon, are you okay with me rewriting the buyer's contract, giving it to the buyer's agent, and telling the buyer's agent, you need to say this, you need to do this. And when she signs, send it back over so that I can present it to my client. Do you remember some of those conversations?
I do remember them, and they were a little, like I said, why does he have to do this? As my realtor, you were doing it for me.
Once they did their inspection, it came back with your house was perfect. There were no issues. We then needed to move forward to the appraisal part. The appraisal came back, I believe, spot on or a couple thousand short. Did you know that the appraiser used these 3 folders to make her decision on how much your house was worth?
No.
What was it like for you having strangers walk through your home when you weren't there?
It was fine because, I mean, for me, that's part of the process. And you prepared me.
I hope you guys were able to understand the selling process from Sharon. Thanks for watching. Thanks for joining. Thanks for sharing. Follow me for more at JustListedWithVik. And as always, welcome home.